Hey everyone, thank you so much for tuning in, and welcome to this week's episode of What Happened in the DSE. My name is Isa Omari, and together with my colleague Emmanuel, we will be taking you through what happened in the equities market, the Treasury Bond market, and the corporate bond market. As per always, let us begin with the equity market. Now, shares traded during the week amounted to 869.41 million Tanzanian shillings. The graph you see in front of you basically just gives us a breakdown of this whole amount traded each day during the week. Now, quickly, something to notice for this week is that on Wednesday, the report had not been released, so there is no information on Wednesday, which is why you're probably wondering, oh, why is there a gap between Tuesday and Thursday? There was no information for Wednesday. Alright, now going specifically into these days, on Monday, all of the trades were done by local investors, meaning that buying and selling of shares were done by local investors. Tuesday had local investors mostly selling their shares, and there was a tie between the local and foreign investors in buying shares. Thursday's action was dominated mostly by foreign investors, and finally on Friday, all of the trades were done by local investors, meaning that buying and selling of shares were mostly done by local investors, as in Tanzanians. Now, you'll notice that the market cap for each day is attached as well. Over here, we have a new graph. We have the All Share Index, also known as DSEI, which represents all of the companies which are listed on the DSE, meaning foreign and locally listed companies. Basically, what we want to check here is how many points has the index dropped or risen during the week. We'll notice that on Tuesday, there was a drop by 11.79 points. On Thursday, there was a further drop by 18.60 points. But on Friday, we ended on a positive note as the points had gone up by 19.01. Moving on, we have our weekly top movers, and these are the companies which had the most shares traded during the week. Now, the total shares moved for the week were 734,317. Now, you'll notice that we attached the closing prices per day right next to the volume traded, and there's another amount which basically represents the value of those shares which have been traded. Now, at number one, we have CRDB Bank PLC, which accounted for 32% of the total volume traded for the week. At number two, we have NMB Bank PLC, which accounted for 29% of the total volume traded for the week. And finally, at number three, we have TBL PLC, which accounted for 23% of the total volume traded for the week. And this was mainly due to the trades in the block trade prearranged market board on Thursday, as you guys can see on the graph. Basically, this occurs when an entity purchases many shares of a company at a pre-arranged price or a negotiated price. So this means an entity, which is most probably a company, had traded the TBL shares through this. Okay guys, now we have a section where we'll be showing the companies which experienced price changes during the week. Now each company will have its own graph, so you guys can easily take note of that. Okay, so we have EABL, which is cross-listed from the Nairobi Stock Securities Exchange. It started off high on Monday and then kept decreasing to the week's low on Thursday, and then it rose again slightly on Friday. We also have KCB, which is cross-listed also from the Nairobi Securities Exchange. It had a similar trend to EABL, as we can see from the graph over here. Nicole was a locally listed company which experienced a rise on Friday, and this was due to some company news which Emmanuel will be taking us through in a bit. NMG, which is also a cross-listed company from the Nairobi Securities Exchange, also dropped on Thursday, then rose back on Friday. And lastly, we have Yatu, which is a locally listed company, had experienced a drop on Friday. And now, everybody, we have company news in which Emmanuel will be taking us through. Welcome, Emmanuel.
Yo, thank you very much, Aisa, and we are now moving on to company news. Starting off with Nicole, on Friday of the previous week, Nicole had at last held their 7th annual general meeting where shareholders had agreed to a dividend per share of 17 Tanzanian shillings, which is expected to be paid before the 30th of December this year. Some people's bank account gonna be looking neat this holiday season. Moving on to KCB. On the 26th November 2020, KCB announced that it had entered into a share purchase agreement with, among others, ABC Holdings Limited for the proposed acquisition of African Banking Corporation Tanzania Limited. However, as of recent updates, the agreement has been terminated, and accordingly, the parties will not proceed to complete the transaction as previously planned. For more details about this update, please check us out on our Twitter page. While on other news, Mufindi Community Bank PLC, Mukoba, have released their second quarterly report for 2021. Let's have a look at the key financial highlights. The net interest income for the quarter has declined by 4.5% to 740 million Tanzanian shillings compared to 775 million Tanzanian shillings during the second quarter of 2020, while cumulatively making 1.6 billion Tanzanian shillings for the first half year of 2021, an 8% increase compared to the 1.5 billion Tanzanian shillings for the half year of 2020. The net profit after tax increased by 11% to 131 million compared to 118 million during quarter 2 of 2020, while cumulatively making 305 million for the half year of 2021, a 27.1% increase compared to the half year of 2020, with an improvement in profit margins to 15% in the half year of 2021 compared to 13% in the half year of 2020. Their total assets increased by 2.1% to 22.3 billion Tanzanian shillings compared to 21.9 billion Tanzanian shillings in March 2021, with returns of profits to assets amounting to 1.7% as of the cumulative half year of 2021. Loans and advances increased by 2.6% to 15.5 billion compared to March 2021, while accounting to 69.5% of the total assets and 107% of the total deposits as of the second quarter of 2021. Total liabilities also increased by 1.7% to 18.3 billion compared to March 2021. Customer deposits have grown by 2.78% to 14.5 billion compared to March 2021, and equity has grown by 4.1% to 4.06 billion, while contributing to 18.2% of the total assets. The bank maintained an NPL ratio which is at 13.6% as of quarter 2 of 2021, while cumulatively making a cost to income ratio of about 57.3%, both of which still haven't met BOT's thresholds of 5 and 55% respectively.
Okay, thank you so much, Emmanuel. And now that the equities portion is over, let's zoom on over to the Treasury Bonds section. And first thing what we need to know is how much was traded in total during the week, which was 69.39 billion Tanzanian shillings. And as always, the graph in front of us just gives us a breakdown of that value of the specific days on which Treasury bonds were traded the most. And we find that during the whole week, the 20-year Treasury bond with a 15.49 coupon rate were the ones that were traded the most during this week. Okay, as always, we're finishing off with the corporate bonds section. Now this week there was no corporate bonds activity. There were no corporate bonds which were traded. The graph you see in front of you again is supposed to give us a breakdown of how much of the value was traded during the week, as well as the specific corporate bonds traded the most with their corresponding coupon rates. And now the coupon paid to investors here is by the respective companies which had originally issued the bond. Thank you so much for tuning in, everybody. I hope this video has been informative and insightful, and as well as brought value to you. Now feel free to interact with A-Trader in any of our social media platforms and contact us in case of any other queries. Have a great week ahead, and karibuni sana.